So we're back in with another beginner's guide video for Marvel Future Revolution. Now in this guide series we cover everything you need to know about the various different heroes that are available in the game. Now the reason I'm able to put these videos out just as the game actually launches is I've been playing it for the last 2 months. I do have all characters at level 100 and I've spent a fair amount of time playing around with them as well. Now as mentioned, we cover everything you need to know about heroes, so I've got timestamps in the video, but to give you an idea of what we're actually covering, we'll start off with a quick overview of the character. This way straight away you can get an idea if you actually like the sounds of them and you want to find out more. If you do, we follow that up by talking about their potential, that's specific stats the character can actually get. We have specializations up, these are what you unlock towards end game, they are incredibly powerful. I'll have a look at some of the more interesting skills for the character in question. We don't check out all of them because characters have 32 skills, so it would take an absolute age, so we'll check out the more interesting ones. We then follow that up talking about the outfits, battle badges and mega cards that would work well for the character, and then finishing up we have a few fun build options to run over as well. Now the character, of course, as you can see on screen, is Star-Lord. So let's jump in and let's start off with the overview first. Star-Lord then is primarily a crowd control style character with access to 3 different debuff trees that he can use, but he can actually put out a real nice amount of damage as well via one of the different debuffs he has. I would say at the moment in the game he's possibly the least popular hero and he's got a really bad reputation, but I don't feel that's fairly earned, and I believe the reason for that bad reputation is that he is exceptionally gear dependent and a lot of people haven't actually invested in him yet, and also a lot of people as well when it comes to his elemental attacks, I'll talk about in a second, people try and mix the elemental attacks rather than focusing on one of them. So as mentioned anyway, he is very gear dependent, so for that reason if you're perhaps a free to play player you might struggle a bit, but if you're a whale and you can invest some money in the game you're going to get access to the gear quicker and you'll get access to his full potential quicker as well. Now the elements he has that we've hinted about, he's actually got access to freeze, shock and also fire. As mentioned, you only want to use one element. If you try and mix more of them and apply multiple stacks, it just won't happen because he actually requires 8 stacks before you'll get that elemental effect, so mix them just doesn't work, just focus on one of them. The ones that really stand out, fire is great for PvE content and also putting out damage, and then you have frost, which is great for PvP and crowd control as well. So that's a quick overview anyway of Star-Lord. Let's jump in now and let's talk about the potential that's available on him. Potential then is additional stats you can invest in your hero. Now you won't be able to max this out after hitting level 100 with them, so you want to be careful where you actually invest the points here. With the potential system, the stats you get will be geared towards a particular play style that the character is better at, so it's actually really good to have a look at this system to straight away get an idea how the character plays and how the developers in a way want you to actually play that particular character. Now this is the in-game UI, but I've actually got an infographic for it where everything's listed on one screen, which makes it a lot easier to talk about. So let's jump over to that infographic. With this section here then, I do have all the different potentials available listed, but the important part is down the bottom, it's the total you can see, and this is the case with all heroes. They get attack, defense and hit points, but what heroes get as well on the second line is actually unique to them. So with Star-Lord you've got the option of gaining extra guard damage. I wouldn't really bother with this one at all, it's not that relevant to him. You have cooldown decrease, that can actually be nice because he's got a buff where he can increase his crit rate by around about 50%, but it only has around about 30% uptime, so this can help you get a higher uptime on that buff. And then next up, exceptionally important and one I would say you want to really max this out as soon as you can, this is debuff accuracy. So Star-Lord is all about applying debuffs, and with the higher debuff accuracy you have, the more likely you will be to actually apply it. Now another stat that doesn't actually show here that is relevant is he burns through his skills pretty quickly, which means he burns through his stamina pretty quickly, so a particular stat I would recommend you look out for, and you'll be able to get this as bonus options on your outfits and mega cards and your cores for example, but I would look out for stamina recovery on him as well. So the 2 primary stats really you're looking for are stamina recovery and debuff accuracy, they are exceptionally important. That's the potential anyway. Let's talk about the specializations now. Specializations are unlocked at level 70, you can equip 4 of them at a time and they are exceptionally powerful. The currency for them comes from raids, so you want to get farming your raids as soon as you can when you actually start off the game. But this is the in-game UI, once again I've got an infographic where we can see everything a lot easier, so let's jump over to that. With the 3 different trees we have here, each of the trees are actually very much geared towards a specific element. The first one we look at is the fire element. This is the Space Pirate tree. So you have Special Flame Bullet. This creates an additional explosion to deal damage equal to 120% of attack upon landing a Flame Shot class skill, and it's got a cooldown of 8 seconds. This is decent. You'll see a bit of a damage jump, but there are much better specialisations to invest in. On the subject of much better ones, I would probably say the next one is a really good one. So it's Grand Finale. Increased damage dealt to targets with 50% hit points or below by 25%. You really will notice this when the enemy drops below 50% hit points. We then have Jet Boots Modification. So this increases damage of the first skill used within 6 seconds after using a dodge skill by 32.5%. So this one here has got the potential to really ramp up the damage in harder hitting skills, but it's definitely one that's for a more active playstyle, so it's really down to you. If you think you're going to be more active, you don't mind a slightly more complicated rotation, then you could certainly go for this one. Finishing off this tree here, we have Tolerance Decrease. This one increases all type damage by 15%. Type damage is your different elements, so your fire, your chill, and also your lightning there. So this is again another very nice one. Moving on to the second tree, Bounty Hunter tree. This is all about chill. This particular one is great in PvP, and I should mention the Space Pirate tree is great in PvE. But this one here, you start off with Special Chill Bullet, creates a chill area to deal damage equal to 22.5% of attack per second in target's location for 5 seconds upon landing a Chill Shot class skill. Cooldown of 12 seconds. Like the other one we looked at, the Special Flame Bullet, it will bump up your damage, but there are better nodes to invest in. Next one we have, it's Painful Wound, 45% chance to stack chill by 1 upon applying chill. If you're going for a chill PvP build and you're quite into PvP, then this is worth investing in. Apply your stacks of chill even quicker. Stable Breath is up next, increases debuff accuracy rate by 25% and accuracy rate by 25% when hit points are 50% or higher. So your debuff accuracy rate means you'll be more likely to apply your stacks. Your accuracy rate means if an enemy has high dodge, you'll be more likely to actually hit them. So once again, this is very good in PvP when you go up against a troublesome Spidey, for example, who's stacking dodge, you have more chance to hit him here. But finishing off this tree, we have Certain Victory. This one increases guard damage by 30% upon equipping Chill Shot class skill. Now the Chill Shot abilities do a lot of guard damage, but I personally wouldn't invest in this one myself. Now, final tree, Galactic Outlaw. This is all about shock. So you start off with Special Shock Bullet. Creates chain lightning that spreads to up to 3 enemies and deals damage equal to 142.5% of attack upon landing a Shock Shot class skill. Cooldown of 8 seconds. Like the other ones at the top here, it's a decent damage boost, but there are better specialisations to go for. We then have Rapid Fire Spray. So this one here decreases remaining cooldown by 50% once every 5 times a skill is used. This is exceptionally strong, and there is a particular build you can run I'll talk about later on in the video that's all about spamming his abilities to try and get his ability that allows you to get that additional 50% crit rate faster. So if you were to run this, earlier in the video when I was talking about stats I mentioned you might need stamina reduction. This is definitely something that you would actually need there if you are going to run it, but potential for a really strong build with this. Now next up we have Afterburn, increases duration of debuff dealt to enemy by 30%, can certainly be decent on him with all the debuffs he's applying. And then finishing up we have Swashbuckler, increases damage dealt to shock targets by 25%. If you're going for a shock build this could be good, but personally I would go for a fire build for PvE and then a chill build if it's coming to PvP. So that is all the specialisations and ones that I like the look of. Let's now talk about the skills that are available. Heroes then actually have access to 32 different abilities, so for this section here what I do is just pick a particular ability within a tree that gives really a good highlight of how Star-Lord plays, and we'll discuss that rather than discussing all 32 abilities. So the first tree is Space Pirate. We're showing this one off because we can see the shock debuff in action. So this one decreases attack by 25% for 7 seconds upon reaching max stack count. I've heard that shock can actually be nice if you're farming AFK because you'll be taking less damage, meaning you'll be using less medkits. We then have a nice single target attack here, and we're showing this off because it's got the burn debuff. So it increases damage received by 20% for 7 seconds upon reaching max stack count. So you can see the fact the enemy's going to be taking more damage. This is why people run run the burn if they're looking to do a damage build. We have Blaster Charge up next. This one's got a low cooldown, showing off a low cooldown skill because it ties in with the Specialisation where you could spam your abilities to reduce the cooldown of all abilities by 50%, meaning you get your crit buff up even quicker. We're going to look at the crit buff in just a moment or two. Also on this one we have the chill debuff, so decreases movement speed and dodge rate by 30% for 7 seconds upon reaching max stat count, and then freezes for 4 seconds upon reaching max stat count. Work on regular enemies, it will work in PvP, the freeze, but it won't work on supervillains. You can't freeze them unfortunately. The next ability, a different form of crowd control here, so it's not a debuff, this one is a stun. It's got a 5-second uptime and the cooldown is 15 seconds, so that's actually really pretty nice on that. We have Elemental Blaster next. I'm showing this off because it's a knockback skill, so if you're getting swarmed by enemies, you need a bit of breathing space. A knockback skill such as this can be really nice, and most of the heroes do have a knockback skill in their kit, so it's one to look out for. Jet Boots is up next. This particular one, it's just another stun that I'm showing off, so he does have 2 stuns in his kit. This one is stunning for 3 seconds and it's got around about 11.5 second cooldown on it. Now we have Battle Soundtrack next. This is locked on regardless of the build you run. At level 15 this will give you close to 50% additional crit rate for 8 seconds. It does have that 25-second cooldown, but again the specialisation that allows you to pull the cooldowns way down is what you'd be wanting to run. And once again I'll just say, just to really emphasise, you're going to need stamina reduction if you are going to be running that build. Now finishing up the skills here, we have Elemental Cannon. This is a beam attack of sorts, and this one is applying burn. So that's just a quick look at some of his skills. Now for the next section we'll go in and we'll talk about the outfits that are available. When it comes to outfits, your end game goal is to craft a regional outfit. Now regional outfits are exceptionally strong, but they're unbelievably strong on Star-Lord. The reason being, many characters will have perhaps free skills within a particular class, so they can buff free, whereas with Star-Lord the way skills are set out, if you wanted, let's just say for example, you could run 5 flame abilities, which means all of them would actually be buffed by one of these regional sets, which is just crazy to get +6 to every single skill that you're actually using. So that's what you want to do at endgame, but it takes a while to get there. So in the short term I would recommend the Secret Wars outfit. This one you're going for it for the 4-set bonus, so you're buffing Battle Soundtrack. That's the ability that gives you that increased crit, so that's going to be great while you're leveling and while you're grinding towards your regional set. In regards to the regional set, there's 2 ones you would actually go for. Pretty self-explanatory after everything we've covered in the video, but if you're going for a PvP chill build, you go for the Midgardia set. You can see it buffs chill shot elements, and if you're going for a more DPS PvE damage build, then you'll be going for the Sakaar outfit. You can see this buffs flame shot elements. So that's the outfits, nice and simple. Let's talk about the battle badges now. For the battle badges here, you always start off first with your Maestro Blitz badge. That will give you your increased supervillain damage, so that's great in Blitz and also raids as well. Dark Zone as well, I suppose. Now, in regards to the Dark Zone and the Mega War sets, there's actually none that really stand out for me for Star-Lord, so what I would potentially say instead is don't worry too much about the set bonus. Look for ones that have the bonus stats that drop on them that would include stamina recovery and debuff accuracy. Go for that instead of the actual set bonus on them. You will benefit more from that. Now, that's battle badges done anyway. Another simple section. Let's talk about Omega cards now. For the Omega set infographics here, I actually split them into 2. The first set here is for free to play players. There's no cards included within this that you can only get within the store. The second infographic will include cards that you can get only in the store, so that's more of your whale set. But this one here for Star-Lord, I would recommend Xander 4. You've got your super villain and villain damage increase and decrease, but your 2-set bonus is really nice if you're running the build where you spam all the abilities. That's got your stamina recovery. It does have ultimate skill recovery, and the ultimate's something I've not actually talked about at this point in the video. The reason for that is it's not particularly good, it's not particularly bad, it's just a bit average, to be honest, at the end of the day. So there we go, that's my review of the ultimate ability as well as the free to play Omega cards set. Let's talk about the ones that now contain the special cards. Looking at these sets here then, you've got your obvious PvP set, that would be Dark Zone 4 or Dark Zone 5, the preferable one would be Dark Zone 4, but looking at the remaining sets. Of course, set bonuses are nice to get, but there's none that really stand out particularly for me for Star-Lord. So what I would say, similar to the battle badges, because he needs that stamina recovery, he needs the debuff accuracy so much, if you can actually get that as a bonus stat on cards, I would forgo set bonuses in some instances to actually stack that. But that's all the mega cards, so we finish up now with the fun part of the video where we talk about some of the build options that are available. So we have 2 builds in total to show off here. We've got a PvE fire-based one and then a PvP chill-based one. That shouldn't be a surprise given everything we've talked about in this video. Now I will just mention, when it comes to the builds, this is a beginner's guide, so it's not meant to be a theory crafted, these are the best skills and best rotation you're ever going to find in the game. This is more you're new to the game, you've just started playing Star-Lord, where do you actually start throwing some of these skills together? At a later date I will do more in-depth builds in regards to the game. But to start off with this one here, you've got your battle soundtrack. So when this is maxed out, it's close to the 50% crit rate you'll be getting for 8 seconds. And once again, I'll mention that specialisation you use where you spam your abilities so you can get your cooldowns down. That's what you would use with this setup as well. We then have Flame Shot. This one here we're using its Elemental Blaster and we're applying a burn with this, really pretty simple. We follow up with Blaster Charge and Cherry Bomb. It's got a really low cooldown, so that's great for proccing that specialisation where you need to use 5 abilities, and then it means you can get your crit rate buff up even quicker. Next one we have here, we're doing a lot of damage with this one. This is Elemental Cannon and it's Flame Cannonball. The damage is low on it at the moment because it is only level 1, but it will go really high when you level this up. And then finishing up, if there's any enemies left, then I'll go for Problem Solver and Rapid Fire Spin. So that one's doing a lot of damage to a single target. I always like to use my AoEs first to whittle out the trash, and then if there's one particularly troublesome enemy left, then I move on to the single target abilities. There we go, very simple. That is the PvE fire-based setup. Let's look at the PvP chill-based one now. So with this build here, we'll start off the rotation once again with battle soundtrack and pump it up to get your crit rate. I would follow this up now because it's PvP. I would actually follow up with this ability here, so it drags the enemy to where the skill lands and it stuns them for 5 seconds. So that's a really nice way to start your rotation in PvP. Now following on from that, we then start to apply our chill so we can hopefully freeze them, but on top of that as well, the chill abilities I've tried to choose are ones that get higher guard break. This one doesn't, but the other ones will be shown in a moment do. But this one here is Problem Solver. We're following it up with Jet Boots. I'm using that because it's got the high guard break, and then we've also got the highest guard break on the final ability, Elemental Cannon. So with this setup, you're getting your crit rate, you're stunning them for 5 seconds, you're looking to freeze them, but on top of that you're looking to actually break their guard as well. So if you can do that in PvP, then that should be a nice easy win for you. But that is the beginner's guide to Star-Lord. As always, I hope the video has been helpful. If it has, please take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button. I've done a video for each of the 8 different launch characters that's available, and there's a playlist on the channel. So if you did enjoy this, feel free to check out the other ones as well. And thanks for tuning in for this. Stay safe. I'll see you all again soon.